Okay, yeah. Yeah. Alumi is a community about connecting design students with their alumni mentors to allow students have an easier time to transition to a creative industry. Michelle started this and I joined last year. We both graduated from a art school. So we really had trouble like just understand how the industry works, and we had no connection back then. And now we're just trying to make fellow design students' life easier, hopefully. So if you want to learn more about us, please follow us on Instagram, LinkedIn. We'll post resources, events info on there. We do like monthly events right now. And today we have 3 great designers from all around the world to share their experience on how they negotiate offers. I will let them introduce themselves. Ermi, do you mind start first?
Hi, everyone. I'm Ermi. For those who haven't met me before, I have been a mentor for about 20 years and probably a mentor with ADP list for about a year. So I love sharing any experience I have with people looking to, build their confidence, especially negotiate your salary, because I feel like everyone should get paid what they're worth and more. So that's why I'm here today to share some of my tips. Happy to give it, to everyone for free because everyone deserves that. Yeah. And yeah, I'm a designer, UX, UI, research, all of the above. And that's me.
Yeah, thanks. Eric?
Hi, everyone. I'm Eric. I am a UX designer based in Vancouver, currently working for Central One, a fintech company here. In terms of experience, I'm probably the youngest among all 3 of us here. So, but yeah, I hope to give you guys all the experience I know about negotiation, since I've had negotiation with the current job, and I had some experience doing freelancing. So hopefully to bring that in as well. Thank you.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I'm sure we have a lot of students in the group, so you can definitely learn from you as well. Victor?
Yeah, hey folks. My name is Victor. I started off actually doing design and architecture. Worked in the industry for 3 years, and then I pivoted into design and tech. Started off as a product designer. I'm still currently am one. Currently working at 2 different startups. I was able to get into one around a little before I finished my course to pivot from architecture into tech, and just been working at startups ever since, just by word of mouth. So pretty fortunate there.
Yeah, great. So let's just start talk about negotiating. If I can find my mouse and stop sharing, I have no idea why. I just okay. Yeah. So the first question I have is let's just start from the beginning. Before you accept or negotiate an offer, what things do you look out for? Like for I guess just what things do you look out for the company? What are some criteria you are looking for? Victor, do you mind start first?
Yeah, sure. I think for me, I definitely look and see whether it's a good fit in terms of work culture, and also looking at what the company roadmap potentially could be, what they're looking for in terms of long term, and the growth potential to me is pretty important too. Like both for me and also for the company, just because because I'm in more of a startup environment, it's pretty critical that you look at the company's potential, cash flow and funding. Make sure that they have that there, because if they don't even have enough funding, they won't be able to even pay you. So I think that's a pretty key factor that I look for. And of course, those are all mostly open information. You can look for them online. Sometimes they post, there's news articles posting, which seed round or early stage raising money, how much they raised. They normally would have that. So there's a pretty comprehensive information on Crunchbase. So it's a web platform that aggregates all this information, focusing on startups and mid-sized companies. Of course, they have like bigger companies too, but at that point you won't be going there. It's mostly targeted startups. So yeah, that's sort of what I'm looking for mostly when I sort of try to negotiate for offer, or whether to accept an offer from a company.
Yeah, absolutely. Understand the company's background is always important. Ermi, do you have anything to add?
In terms of what I look for, there's a few things. Definitely when I do a job search, I don't just, I'm pretty selective. So I don't just blast 100 applications. I need to make sure it's what I'm actually looking for and seeing if it's the type of role that I can grow in, like similar to what Victor just mentioned. And to me, negotiating is, it's a lot of effort. So I make sure if that role is somewhere where I can grow. I look at the team, I look at their ways of working. Does it tick, all the standard boxes? What's the company culture look like? Little tricky things like what's the staff turnover like? Is it somewhere where I can stay? And so whenever I negotiate an offer, I don't actually, and I also do a bit of research with the market rate as well. So I actually view that salary as a starting point. And then if, I have the skills, then I will kind of, decide on what rate or salary or range I might recommend that I think it should be paid, and then go from there. And I also look at things like, the recruiter, did they just blast this to 100 other applicants? Have they actually done research on me? Am I actually someone they've done research on? Do they actually want me? So I think that's like a good bargaining chip as well. Do they know my name? And then I think that's like a good relationship as well to go, can I communicate and negotiate with this recruiter? Because obviously they are representing me back to the company. So are they going to represent me well, and make sure I get the best salary and range that, is worth my skills and experience. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Eric, I don't know if you want to add anything.
Right, Victor and Ermi basically covered most of it, a lot of it already. Something I would like to add is, so what I look at before starting a negotiation offer is figuring out like what is exactly required. Because in the job posting, they're gonna put everything they know about UX design, and most companies don't even know what they want from UX. UX is still very new to them. They put literally anything and everything in it. So what I would like to do is I like to cross-reference that, maybe talk to somebody already working at that company. What kind of role am I trying to fill out, and what kind of value that I'm going to be bringing in? So once I know exactly the kind of work that I'm going to be bringing in to the company, that I'm going to be providing, I think I'll be able to set myself in a better position in our negotiation. In a way I can negotiate for more potentially, because I know the value that I'm going to bring into this company and how is it going to be impactful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So during the interview or the offer or negotiation stage, how do you spot red flags? Let's start with Ermi.
Well, just following on from my first answer, like I'll do research on the company. So I might jump onto Glassdoor, I might jump onto Seek, I'll see if they have 1-star reviews. So to me, that's an obvious red flag. I'll look at all their social media, I'll look at LinkedIn. If I'm looking for culture, do they have an active culture? What does their, people and culture policies look like? Is this the type of place that's going to support me and help me grow? I also look at, again, like the recruiter, they're your first contact. So if, they're a bit, I don't know, I've had some bad experiences where they forget my name. That's a red flag as well, because they're just talking to every other candidate just to see who they can get and get a commission. But if it feels like, that relationship is genuine, that company has done research on me and wants me for that role, that's a positive thing. I would say even when I started, even in that first phone call with the interviewer, which is like, their screening process, a red flag is if I would just ask the question, because I mention salary upfront. I don't wait until I'm at the 3rd or 5th round to go. Money should be transparent. It should be something you can ask about in that first phone call. To me, I'm not afraid to ask about money or the range. And I also look at, what are the other benefits as well. So if I ask and they say things like, no, this is the fixed rate, no, there's no flexibility, I think that's pretty straightforward. That's a red flag. It's not worth negotiating. But if they go, oh, let me get back to you, it looks like there's some room to negotiate in the other phone calls. So yeah, they're the type of things I look at in the beginning to make sure it's worth my time in all the other conversations, because negotiation, it's a process. It's not a one-off thing you can just say up front and they say yes or no. It's something that you can negotiate.
Yeah, definitely. Being transparent about your expectation is important in the interview, and not just for the salary itself, but like for the what do you expect from the job as well. Eric.
Yes. I love what you said, Ermi. Like I learned just now, I just learned that fact right now. To me, like a red flag I was gonna mention was that if the first interview, or even before you even get to the interview process, they ask you what's your expected salary. Like that's literally the first thing they ask, or maybe that's something that they want to keep pushing for. Then to me that was a little like, oh, they want to just look at if they can afford me or something, or they want to know what's my expectation. If I say something high or something low, they might reject me or something. Yeah, if that's the kind of feeling you're getting from that conversation, yeah, so that to me is the biggest red flag. But yeah, I probably do what Ermi said, go up front and just give a high salary expectation and ask. That probably is the right way to do it, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Victor, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, sure. I think for me, I kind of I guess in this part, I'll probably like look at more basic stuff, like, just like be genuine, be on time, be prepared. If you can't even do those, like, I think it's already a pretty big red flag. Like if you can't even be on time to a meeting or be prepared when I ask you a question, you have no clue. Then I think it's gonna be, it's not gonna be the best fit for me. If they keep saying, oh, let me get back to this person, I can get back to you on this answer, and they don't really reach out to me again with an answer, then to me it's a red flag, because I personally prefer to work somewhere where everyone's more collaborative, more fast-paced. And if you can't get those basic info ready, then I think long-term, even in that work environment, it's not going to work out well for me.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Next, let's talk about the salary range. We also mentioned that. How do you find out how much you are worth, or how do you came up with your range? And also there's a question from the audience. It's related to this. Do layoffs affect your market value? Victor, since you recently were laid off, do you want to share some of your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. And definitely my situation is a little bit more unique in a way where I got fairly lucky, where I think right after I got laid off. I think that that second job, the part-time job that I got, is pretty much lined up the next day. So someone in the internal team found out about the layoff, and he's like, yo, you want to work with this other startup, and they're working on similar stuff, and they're looking for designers. So I'm like, all right, cool, let's do this part-time. And then that led to another opportunity because I had experience in that specific industry. That led to another opportunity. But I think for me, it doesn't really affect your value. I think, whatever you do, you're still doing it at a, high proficiency. At the level of work that you do still remains the same, doesn't change. And whatever the company need, they still need the same stuff. So I think value doesn't drop. I think right now the layoffs and all that is mostly driven by over projected growth in the economy. And that itself, it has nothing to do with what you do, your experience, and what the general market is for designers in general, or designers in tech. So I feel like you shouldn't get impacted by that. I think the only part that will get impacted typically, that's for like larger companies where they include stock option as your comp. Then of course that's gonna get impact big time, because if your stocks drop like 50%, then your comp is gonna drop as much, right? So I think it will get impacted there. And I think right now a lot of companies are even restructuring that, like how to, invest your stock option, how to distribute it, how and all that. It's starting to change. So I think if you maybe work for like a Microsoft or Amazon, yes, your comp is going to get impacted by that. And another way of thinking about it is think of it as also like a stock investment, right? So like if the market is horrible right now, if you jump ship and go to IPO'd company, then your stock value is going to be much lower, and the amount of stock you get potentially will be worth a lot more when the market gets back to normal or start going to like a bull market in terms of the economy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. Yeah, Eric, do you have some tips on how did you find out your like expected salary?
How to reach my expected salary?
Oh, how do you find out, like how do you know how much you want?
That's a very interesting question. It's I think so. I don't have like a number on like how much I want. I think when I go into like a negotiation with a company, I focus on how much do they value me and how much they can give me. It's not about like I'm a if you're a new designer or you have a designer with a lot of experience or like a senior principal designer, doesn't matter. Like you don't set a number for yourself. You negotiate that number with the person trying to hire you. And hopefully I would love to reach around the 90% percentile. If you're above that part at the top 10% range, then you're set. I'm happy with that.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like sometimes it matters more how you negotiate rather than limited yourself to a specific range.
Mhm.
Ermi, if you have anything to add on that.
Just probably a couple of practical tips. In terms of how I find out how much I'm worth for that role, I'll do a few things like, if I'm applying for a design lead, I'll compare a design lead job description and what the salary or range is with 3 other job sites and see what the median range is. And then based on that, because not everyone, is just a checkbox type of person, we all have other skills outside of that job description. So I'll just do a comparative salary range, find the median, and then compare it to the actual job description and what they're on offer. But then I'll also look at the market as well. So, the market right now is really bad. So I didn't actually negotiate. I just got a new job. I didn't negotiate the salary. I was just happy to be employed. And I went, the market rate is pretty low. But a year ago, when it was, the big resignation, that's when I negotiated up 20K because I knew companies did have that flexibility. So it's kind of using common sense to go, look at external factors. Sometimes it's not just about you. Typically startups may have less budget because they have to go to a board and go through a stricter process. Whereas a bigger company, they'll probably have more budget, so you could ask for more. So you kind of look at external things as well and see if it's the right time to negotiate as well, because it's about timing. Yeah.
Yeah. We have a question in the audience asking about, is it better to give your number up front or wait until they give you a range instead? Or if they ask you for your range, do you give a like general answer like competitive market salary, or do you give a more specific range? Victor, do you have anything to share on this?
Yeah, I think the competitive in the market answer is definitely the right way to go.
The base unit, which is the base container
what?
type.
Yeah, no worries. But yeah, so that's definitely the right way to go. And you know, you try not to lowball yourself, you know what I mean? So definitely if they do ask for like a range, what I normally do, I set my high reach goal as like the lower range. So that way even if they lowball you, it's your higher range, you know, internally in your head, right? So that's sort of what I did, and typically it works out. And to be honest, you never know, especially with like, I'm being honest here, right? Companies in the US are going to pay a lot more. So if you give them a number, that's like in other market, you know, and you assume that it's gonna be high, oh, they'd be like, oh, this is well within our range. And I'm like, okay, I think I messed up there. So typically, you know, I try not to, but even if I do, I guess location sometimes affects it too. So I'll look at where the company's located at, and also who are the investor, who led certain rounds. If it's like a big names like Sequoia Capital and all this stuff, I'm sure they'll probably have enough resources. So I'll definitely gun for like a higher range. If, you know, they weren't able to, you know, raise as much, then their resources pretty strapped, then, you know, I try to adjust. But then also at the same time, you can always think of other ways of getting your total package. You know what I mean? So like, think of like the whole comp as not just salary. Think of like, you know, potentially their signing bonus, better health insurance, you know, other things like, you know, additional pay for like online subscription for continuous growth, like continuous learning, stuff like that. And I think that is where you have to really think about what matters to you. Or maybe you can ask for like a 4-day work week, or you know, flexible hours, stuff like that. So think about what you really want, and then sort of prioritize that, and then see what you can negotiate. Because a lot of times, like maybe for the company, is not that big of a deal if they say, oh, 4-day work week is cool with us. If it helps us save some money, then you get 4-day work week. They pay you the same rate, but just less hours. So think of it in different angles and see what you can do to like expand the pie in a way, right? And think what's important to you, but it's easy for them to achieve. Or like, you know, you're doing like a freelance job, but hey, I need health insurance. Hey, can you hook me up with your company health insurance? But I'm a contractor. You know what I mean? So stuff like that, that you can sort of use to negotiate and you know, kind of like make your overall total package, you know, to you a lot more valuable, but at the same time, it's not gonna cost the company a lot of money.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. There are other things, excuse me, there are other things you can negotiate. And we can definitely go into detail there. But before we do that, I want to like circle back to the question about is it better to give a number upfront or wait until they give you a range instead? Ermi, do you have any thoughts on that? Are you able?
Oh, there, sorry.
Okay.
You
Yeah.
muted me and I couldn't unmute myself. Before I answer, I just want to say, Victor, that was an amazing answer. I was like nodding my head the whole time. Like, even though this panel is about negotiating your salary, there's so much more to salary. It's like, you know, the flexibility. There's what do the benefits look like? Are there stock options? Yeah, because even one where I only negotiated up 10K above the offer, but the bonus was like 20%. And so I got like an extra how much after 6 months. And I went, that's amazing. I will say, I feel like there's a recurring theme in my answers. I do a lot of research so that I have all the information and like I have the bargaining power to go, well, I know this about your company. I know this. The recruiter's personality is paying attention to me. I feel like they're representing me well. I feel like I have the power to negotiate. And this company looks good. And then I also have an idea of what I'm already worth market-wise. So I don't know how to answer that question. I sort of already know, but then I look at external factors like the market. So I'm pretty comfortable with saying a range. I think in my junior days, I made the mistake of telling the recruiter because I thought if I lie, that's being dishonest, but it isn't. It's like when it comes to getting what you paid, it's a variable thing. It's not a fixed thing. So I never say salary. I always say range. And same as Victor, I make sure my bottom range is either the max, kind of what I want. So if they accepted it, I'd be happy. But then even then, in a previous role, they didn't go higher, but then I put something in the contract to say I would be promised an increase. So I'm also all over contracts as well. To make sure what I sign up with is exactly what I'm going to get. It's not just a verbal conversation. So yeah, I'm happy with saying it up front, making sure it's a range, and the lowest range is what I'd be happy with. Yeah.
Yeah, let's talk more about that. Besides like the cash, what are some other things you can negotiate in your offer? Like we mentioned a lot about like a chance to ask for a raise in the future, some other benefits. Eric, do you have anything to add there?
Benefits? Not really. I don't have that much experience in terms of asking like shares, like salary, all that. I mean, so far my experience has just been with freelance and everything has just been like a set amount of fixed number for salary. So for me, I'll hear a lot of stock options here and there. Some like as Victor mentioned more with 4-day work week. That's very interesting too. Yeah, I don't have a lot to input there, unfortunately. Sorry.
Yeah, all good. Ermi, Victor, do you have anything to add to what you already mentioned?
No, I think I was fairly thorough early on. So I think most of the stuff that I would think about and ask for, I think I already included in the previous answer.
Okay.
Probably in addition to that, not just salary, I'd probably negotiate how I work as well. So in previous roles, it would just say it's a sole designer. But then when I look at the roadmap, I go, this is a 3-person role. So I would negotiate that, you know, they will potentially, you know, make me a lead or be able to hire people in the first year so that I'm not burnt out. So I try to sort of forecast what my workload is going to be. So I make sure I look after myself and not just answer the role to go, yeah, I'm a sole designer. I'm going to have too much workload. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's really good point. Just set yourself up to success. Otherwise, no one else, like the company may just not care to hire more people. Well, I think for a lot of people, including me, it's sometimes really hard to start the conversation about negotiating. Like they may just too afraid to do it. Do you have any tips to overcome that fear? Or what worked for you before? Eric, do you have anything to share there?
Yes, for that I can share some. Do not be afraid of asking a higher number. Don't undervalue yourself, because like it's not like if you give a extremely high number, they're going to retrieve the offer or anything like that. No, that's not a thing they do, because after going through the interview phase, going through all the testing and everything, multiple interviews, and finally once it comes to negotiating the salary, you give a high range and they decline you, that's highly unlikely. Because yes, recession's going on, yes, people are getting laid off, but that only means that if they're hiring during this time, they are looking for somebody who's extremely highly qualified, which is really hard for people, for recruiters to do nowadays. So in fact, it's the other way around. They should be afraid of not giving you enough, meeting your lower expectations. So you should always stand your ground. Yeah, that's probably what I would say.
Yeah. Victor, do you have anything to add?
No, I think Eric said it pretty well. Just don't be afraid to ask. It's no harm in asking. And that's pretty much what I did in the past. I just ask if, they say no, figure out, other ways of, getting additional comp that doesn't affect their bottom line. And yeah, so far, worked out pretty well for me. I never had any bad experiences, in that sense. So yeah, just ask. Don't be afraid. And I think one thing that I always keep in mind is just always keep in mind what you bring to the table. When you have that, it adds to your confidence. And when you have that, then, just ask. But of course, ask nicely, and I think you should be fine. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Ermi?
Yeah, I agree with everything Eric and Victor said as well. Like, remember that you have value as well. Also, it's unlikely they're going to reject whatever you have to offer at the third round or final round. And yeah, for me, salary it's just a number. So I don't know if it's obvious, but I'm not afraid to ask. I'm gonna just ask it, and if you don't ask, you don't get. So ask, but then knowledge is power. So the more knowledge you have, then that will give you confidence in what figure or range you should ask for.
Yeah. So can you all share some strategy that you used before and help you successfully negotiate an offer? Victor, do you want to start first?
Yeah, sure. I think, just a couple of things that I think we already mentioned early on is just understand what you bring to the table, be confident, and just ask, and also just, figure out ways that'll make it work for both sides. And that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. That's really important to just understand your value and be confident about it. Ermi, do you have anything you want to share?
Other than the practical tips that I mentioned with, doing your research, comparing market rates, comparing other job descriptions, another good strategy is just having confidence as well. Remembering that, and also presenting yourself in the best way that, they want you. Obviously, it's a two-way thing. You also want the job. So just like really validate yourself. Don't be afraid to ask. If you can, don't take no for an answer. It is a negotiation. So sometimes they will say, oh, we're not sure, but then still push for it anyway. Be prepared for counter responses. So if they say, oh, we'll get back to you, today and the next day, and then they don't. Like, be persistent, like really follow up if this is the role that you want. So make sure that you're in control of this negotiation as well.
Yeah. Like, yeah, it's interview process is two-way street. So they spend all the time looking for designer. So if you are in the final stage, they definitely want to keep you. Yeah. Now we will talk about some successful time. Was there a time you weren't successful when negotiating salary or offer? What happened, and would you do differently if you have another chance? Victor, do you have things to share?
Yeah, sure. I guess unsuccessful in a way where I did ask for, it was at a previous job, I did ask for a salary raise, and answer I got was no. But I guess what I did there, I would do it again, is that, hey, if it doesn't work out, that's cool. I asked it, you said you couldn't do it, but I asked for more stock options, and I was able to get that. So in a way, it was to me, it was okay. But also just keep in mind that typically stocks for startups, especially early stage startups, they're typically more risky, right? They're typically not, there's no dollar sign value that's more quantifiable, sort of like tied to it. It's more based on like valuation that's more broad and in a way like more vague. So for early stage startup, sure, it's nice to get that stock, but at the same time, like, it's not like you're getting stocks at Amazon or Microsoft. So it's not like something you can just assign like a value that you can cash out pretty easily. So just keep that in mind. But I think for me, I would probably do the same thing, because for me, I'm not a very, very aggressive person. I would ask, and if I can't, I try to find other ways that will work for both sides. Yeah, so that's sort of what happened with me, and I think I would do the same thing again.
Yeah, that's more like how you turn a no to a yes, I would say. It's not entirely an unsuccessful story, but that's great. Ermi, do you have anything to share?
I'll mention 2 times I was unsuccessful, but my version of unsuccessful is I didn't get the exact amount I want, but I got half of it. So I made the mistake of asking for 10K, and then they only asked me for they only gave me 5. And then after I accepted it, I thought, hang on, it's only 5K. I should have pushed for that 10. And then, yeah, like, I made the mistake of asking what I want. So after that, I asked for either double what I want. So if I wanted 10, then I ask for 20. So if they try to meet me halfway, then I get 10.
Yeah, that's a good strategy, negotiating strategy. Like, ask for more, so when you two meet in front, you can still get what you want.
You kind of need to create a situation where it's win-win. So it's like, even if they kind of say no, you still win.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And we have a question for Ermi. So I will just read the question. Back when Michelle was students, she always thought having an offer is good enough. But a friend of her told she we should always ask for more, even satisfied with the offer. This actually happened to me before, and the offer I got was pretty good, but I just didn't ask for more because, well, it's already a good offer. Yeah. So I any advice from you for being a woman designer? Like, how do you step up for yourself?
I've kind of developed this, mindset of validation and knowing what I'm worth through the years. So I can definitely relate to that, and how I used to be scared about asking. And then I realized it's just a number. You know, similar to a lot of Victor's answers, there's so much other value that you have. And then also, like, I feel like I'm obsessed with research. I actually read articles that typically men will look at a job description and have half of the skills and they'll go for the job. Whereas a woman will have 9 out of 10 and go, oh, I don't have that one skill, and they won't go for it. So I've kind of adopted that supposed male mentality. If I have half the skills, I'll still go for it because I have nothing to lose. I have nothing to lose to apply. And then 100% of the time I'll get through the door. So I just feel like if you just like, yeah, the whole theme of like, if you don't ask, you don't get, just go for it. And I think, you know, whether you're unemployed or if you're currently in a job and you're quietly looking, you have nothing to lose to apply.
Yeah.
Just go for it. Yeah,
just go for it.
and also, like, if you think the offer's really good, there's no harm in asking, because if you think about it, well, maybe it's like, you know, some budget for a future holiday, upgrading your workspace at home. I'm like, do you know what I mean? Like, it'll just benefit you in the long run.
For sure. Yeah, just always ask. So the next question is, if you are being offered more than one role, like from different companies, how do you decide which offer to take? What factors are involved in your decision-making process? Eric, do you want to start on this one?
Sure. Yes. For me, if I get multiple offers, well, I first look at it at what kind of company, what is the culture, what's the environment that the company is offering. Sometimes it's even better to take a lower offer with a company that you know you can grow more, that you'll learn more, and provides a good environment for you, compared to like a company that's offering higher, maybe a little bit higher, maybe much higher, that doesn't offer that same culture, and it's like you feel like you're very restricted. It could be like, it's almost like golden handcuffs in the way. So yeah, always look for always prioritize an environment where you can thrive more, because if you compare it in the longer run, that's going to affect your end goal. With a salary that you might get much higher with another company, after that you might be able to provide much more value to those companies in the future after going through that experience with your first one. So yeah, just look for good culture and good environment to grow.
Yeah, that's really important. I think I would add on that is think about what kind of designer you want to be in the next 3 years. What kind of work you want to do, what kind of level you want to reach to, and then think about which company can help you achieve that. Ermi, do you have anything to add on?
No, except I just agree 100% with what Eric said.
Perfect.
Yeah. Sometimes it's not just about the salary. I will mention a red flag though, where, sorry, in my experience, when a salary was high because it was such a bad culture, and that was their only bargaining chip they could use to get designers through the door, because no one wanted that role. So I fell for that once. But now I'll look for other, company culture things, not just salary.
Yeah. My next question is for like entry-level designers or people just want to start in the industry. What leverage do they have to negotiate? Or another way to ask this question is how can entry-level designer find their value so they can better have more confidence to negotiate? Victor, do you have anything you want to share?
Yeah, absolutely. I think definitely can relate to that because when I made the pivot from architecture to design and tech, there's definitely a lot of things that I have to learn. So I think for me, try not to think of yourself as junior, right? Think about what you can bring to the table and also where you see yourself in the future, and then sort of understand what you're interested in and how you want to grow. And then what I did was I went on LinkedIn. So at that point, I didn't know about Lunch Club. I didn't know about a lot of these communities. I just went on LinkedIn, cold message a bunch of people, and just look for companies that I really look up to that I want to work at, and look for product designer working there. Reach out to them and be like, hey, what was your process like? What was your journey like? What do you like? What do you dislike? What you wish you could have done? And just ask a whole bunch of people. I probably reached out to like 60, 70 people, and probably like 20 of them got back to me. But with that 20 people, that already gave me a whole bunch of information. So even when I jumped in, straight first job in tech, I already have a pretty good idea of how people work, and what are some things that I need to look out for in the environment that I'm looking at. So for me, I know from day one that I prefer fast-paced environment, product-driven in-house design teams, or early stage startup. You're looking at like at most Series B funding. Anything bigger than that, I normally don't even apply. So once you understand what you want, where you want to be, reach out to the people that you talk to. You have that level of knowledge and confidence that you can sort of like not sound like a junior person, right? And then of course, like really hone in on your portfolio, because just let your work speak for yourself. So when people look at your portfolio, they don't see junior, they don't see someone straight out of boot camp or straight out of school. They see someone who know work process and results driven, and really tailor it towards the company that you want to work at. Because for me, I know startups, they look for something very different compared to like a large company that's more established. And it's also very different compared to people who are working at design agencies or agencies in general. So really, I think spend some time, understand what you want, focus on that, and then sort of hone your application portfolio, your narrative, your story towards your goal. And also another really important thing to keep in mind is figure out why it's the company or the job opportunity is a good fit for you. Because I think in terms of design and work and job and company, there's no good and bad, right or wrong. This is just a good fit and a bad fit. If you get some like senior UX feature from Amazon, they're not going to do all the startup that needs you to do everything. And if you same thing, if you get someone to startup that does a lot of things well, but not like super focused on certain aspects, that you ask them to work on like UX research on like something that a bigger company is working on, they probably won't be able to perform well either. So I think really understand where you want to go towards in the future is pretty important. And once you get that figured out, really figure out your story, your narrative, and then move on from there.
That's great. A lot of good tips there. Eric, do you had any experience with this before?
Yeah, like everything just Victor said, like 100% agree on that and more. As the one part where Victor mentioned like your direction, if you know exactly where you want to work, if you're confident in that environment, if you're just and you're confident with your process, then there's almost no reason for you to lowball yourself and doubt yourself in that way, because you know exactly what kind of designer you are, and what environment are you looking for to thrive in. Yeah, a lot of new designers usually don't feel that way. Like it's amazing Victor knew exactly what he wanted. I'm so impressed with that. But yeah, it comes with experience, and it comes with a lot of more work, but just keep working on yourself with the quality you bring in. Never think of yourself as a junior designer. The two positions that I got on my first startup and my current company, I didn't think of myself like a junior person. Hence why currently I am not in a junior role. In fact, I'm like closer to much more intermediate role. So it kind of like the title also helps. It brings you more of that confidence holding that title. But yeah, that's all from me.
Oh, yeah, no, that's a good point. Just think about what you can bring, and don't worry too much about lack of experience. Everyone they all got unique things to bring to the table, unique aspect. or perspective, I should say. Yeah. Ermi, do you have more to share?
Yeah, agree with everything. And then also add, because a lot of the designers I've mentored, they think of themselves as junior because they transitioned from a previous role. But I sort of remind them that their previous career, like if they were, they were an industrial designer or an architect, like I said, Victor, those skills in terms of the design process, they, interviewed users, they have all this stakeholder product design experience that are transferable to their new UX role. So I remind them they're not junior, they already have those skills. And then again, in terms of labels, I think junior, like for me, I always recommend, like Victor said, I tell them to just get rid of it, because within 6 months to 12 months, you're already not junior, you're gaining experience. That to me, that's just the label that recruiters like to put in the job ad. Just to filter. But you are a product designer, UX, UI designer, whatever the title is. And I'm 100% confident that every entry-level designer has previous transferable skills that will immediately make them not junior. So even in my first role, I was a senior graphic designer coming into an entry level, and I still behaved as if I was senior, and then that actually helped me progress faster because I didn't act junior. So even in that mindset, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the mindset is really important. Yeah, we will coming to the end. Is there any last words, any last tips you want to share to people? Eric, do you want to start?
I just wrote fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
But confidence is key. Keep asking, follow everything, do your research. And when a hiring recruiter like gives you a number, oh yeah, this is what my uncle told me, who's a senior developer, like with 12 years of experience. He told me this after I failed miserably on my first negotiation. He said that never be the first one to give a number. Always make them give a number. So that then the number they usually give is around 60 to 70%. So you like kind of gauge that and then go higher, something like that. But yeah, that's my trick.
Yeah. Victor, do you have any last thoughts?
Last thoughts. I think just find what you're interested in, figure out your priorities, find your good fit, and then be confident. And I think the numbers will get to where it should be, eventually. But yeah, I think if you do the previous stuff, you should be fine.
Yeah. Ermi?
I was raising my hand to Eric's comment about fake it till you make it. There's a quote, I think from this speaker. She says, instead of fake it till you make it, it's fake it till you become it. So even if you don't feel confident, just pretend you're confident. And then when you practice that behavior, you'll eventually become confident because you practiced it so many times. Amazing tips from Victor as well. And yeah, just reiterate, knowledge is power. And sorry, what Eric said about never reveal your number. I kind of see negotiation as like, if you're good at playing poker, like you don't reveal your cards straight away. So it's like, and I saw a comment in the chat to go, would you give your number? I go, I'm sure everyone gets emails from LinkedIn. I don't give all my details to every recruiter because they're seeking you out. They may blast, they may have actually done their research and have, customized a message to you. You don't know. But I don't get on the phone until I know what the JD is. I've looked up their company quickly. Are they worth giving my details? And And yeah, if they harass you, then you can just block them.
Yeah. Don't feel bad to go through those three
Yeah,
quarters.
yeah.
Don't feel bad.
This is a process. Yes, there are, you know, downtimes in the industry, you may be laid off. But then there's also a lot of jobs out there. There's different ways to approach it, not just apply. You may know someone. There's other strategies you can use. So yeah, be creative, be confident, and like Eric said, fake it till you become it.
Yeah, great. Thank you all share all the amazing tips, strategies. I think they're really helpful. I also learned a lot as well. Also thank you everyone coming to this event. Hope you all learned something and be more confident for your future negotiation. Yeah, this will be the end of our event. Thanks everyone for coming. And oh yeah, you can find all three panelists on ATP list. They are there. So if you have any more questions, feel free to reach out to them. And if you have any feedback for Alumi, feel free to reach out to me, to Michelle, or just reach out on our LinkedIn, Instagram. Yeah, hope everyone have a great weekend.
All right. Thank you guys.
Bye,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Thank
Thanks for having
you.
us. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
How do I fix?
Bye.
Bye. Oh, there. Bye.